Hey folks, John Becker here, Union Township trustee and former state representative from Claremont County, bringing to you the September issue of the Becker Report. I'm recording this video on September the 28th, 2023, and this is going to be a lengthy video. This is going to be about state ballot issues 1 and 2 primarily. This is going to be the longest video and the longest Becker Report I've done since I moved to file impeachment proceedings or an impeachment resolution against Governor Mike DeWine. But hey, if you want to follow along, you can go out to beckergop.com. You can subscribe to my newsletter there, the Becker Report, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And so what I'm starting with, of course, is issue 1, and I'm going to be reading kind of directly a lot from the newsletter this time, which I try not to do. I try to really ad-lib more than anything else. But what you can do is follow along. I have a link in the Becker Report to the actual ballot language. There's also a link to the official opposing statement, so you can be looking at both of those if you like. There's also on this first page of the Becker Report, in the first, I think, 5 or 6 pages is all about issue 1. And then issue 2 is another, 2-3 pages. So what I have is a number of links that are some videos, some of the conservative Christian organizations and their opposition to it. I also have similar links for issue 2. So let's get started on issue 1. So I want to take this paragraph by paragraph. I want to be kind of reading directly, looking at notes on a lot of this stuff. So the first paragraph, so this is the actual ballot language, what you're going to be voting on in November, or if you vote early, which I do encourage. Establish, so the first paragraph, establish in the Constitution of the State of Ohio an individual right to one's own reproductive medical treatment, including but not limited to abortion. So there's a whole lot to unpack just in that one sentence in that first paragraph, because what do these things mean? They're not defined. So they're open to interpretations by whoever's going to be doing the interpreting. And at some point, it's going to be a liberal court. We've seen some crazy stuff coming out of liberal courts in the past. So first question would be, what does an individual right mean? What is an individual? Well, if this was intended to be, an adult woman, it would say something to that effect, as opposed to an individual, which obviously could be interpreted to include, everybody. So, children. So any pregnant teenager now is a individual right to get an abortion if this language goes through. Reproductive medical treatment. What is reproductive medical treatment? Well, everybody has reproductive organs. So is that transgender treatment that's going to be included in that? Well, if you're a liberal judge, how are you going to read this, in your courtroom? And not limited to abortion. So leaves that wide open to a lot of things. Then let's go to the second paragraph. It reads, create legal protections for, again, any person or entity that assists a person with receiving reproductive medical treatment, including but not limited to abortion. So this is some pretty broad language. So, what does any person mean? So if you have a child in an abusive situation, maybe it's with a soccer coach or who knows what, that any person would be the coach who can then take this child to an abortion clinic and have the quote unquote reproductive medical treatment, or for that matter, that reproductive medical treatment could be somebody struggling with their sexuality and want to be a transsexual and get that treatment. So this would enshrine legal protections for the abuser who would be taking this kid in for treatment of some sort. So, and keep in mind with this that, well, the Ohio Revised Code has laws against that. Well, yes, it does. But this is a constitutional amendment, and what that means is it supersedes and overrides and trumps anything and everything in the Ohio Revised Code. So all those laws that are currently in effect would simply be struck down as unconstitutional if this were to go into effect. The third paragraph, prohibit the state from directly or indirectly burdening, penalizing, or prohibiting abortion before an unborn child is determined to be viable unless the state demonstrates that it is using the least restrictive means. Okay, so parental notification laws, the laws requiring that these abortion clinics, meet certain health standards and safety standards, all of that would be thrown out because they would directly or indirectly, burden, somebody's right to get an abortion. And also the mention in here of viability, and this is shown in a couple of paragraphs. That viability thing is just a red herring. It means absolutely nothing because when you get to the last paragraph, you'll see the health exceptions, which means anything and everything. Let's go to the fourth paragraph. Grant a pregnant woman's treating physician, that means abortionist, the authority to determine on a case-by-case basis whether an unborn child is viable. So the viability thing, which again really doesn't matter, that the abortionist gets to decide when the baby is or is not viable. Fifth paragraph, and again there's a total of 6 here. Only allow the state to prohibit an abortion after an unborn child is determined by a pregnant woman's treating physician, again the abortionist, to be viable, and only if the physician does not consider the abortion necessary to protect the pregnant woman's life or health. So the health exception is mentioned here. The viability issue is simply a red herring. Let's go to the 6th paragraph. Always allow an unborn child to be aborted. Again, always allow, this is the actual ballot language, always allow an unborn child to be aborted at any stage of pregnancy. At any stage of pregnancy, regardless of viability, if in the treating physician's determination, again the abortionist, the abortion is necessary to protect the pregnant woman's life or health. What does health mean? So first off, a lot to unpack here, always, so that means, unfettered right through the 9th month, up until and including the day of the abortion, or the day of birth. That would be any stage of pregnancy. So we're talking partial birth abortion here, regardless of viability. So, the kid will live outside the womb perfectly fine at 9 months, of course, regardless of viability. If the abortionist, treating physician, determined to protect the woman's life or health. Okay, what does health mean? Well, courts have ruled, health means pretty much anything and everything. So it would be psychological considerations, I don't feel good. It would be financial considerations, family considerations. Well, I got 3 kids now, 4th one is a financial burden. Okay, so there's a health exception. So, so in essence, what this means because of the health exception is this issue 1 allows abortion for anybody and everybody, including children, without parental knowledge or consent, up until and including during birth. So, that's the ins and outs of it. Where do I have? Let's go from here. Okay, so also in here I have some what I just call further commentary. I quote Thurgood Marshall. So this gets into when liberal judges, you do, this is from Thurgood Marshall, you do what you think is right and let the law catch up. So in other words, don't worry about what the law says, what the Constitution says, just do the right thing. So, the liberal judges have a history, and it's just the way they're wired, to really not even worry about what the actual language is, just to, do the right thing. So, and of course the right thing in their mind is whatever they want it to be, which brings me to Proverbs 12:15, the way of the fool is right in his own eyes. Okay, so then I have a section here, I think it's like 17 bullet points on just kind of a summary, so I'm not going to review all that. So to get into issue 2, so this is the just vote no on drugs. This section is not nearly as lengthy, and again I have a link here to the actual ballot language and a link to the official opposition language to it as well. So what I start off with this is I guess the federal side of the marijuana debate, and that is where the DEA has what's called Schedule 1 drugs, Schedule 2, and it goes down through Schedule 5, and I list examples of each of those. Well, marijuana is listed as a Schedule 1 drug. That's the worst of the worst, or the most dangerous, and I think it's because of the potential for abuse. But also listed as Schedule 1 drugs are LSD, heroin, ecstasy, and GHB. I forgot what that stood for. That's the date rape drug. So then I go some selected paragraphs. There's 14 paragraphs in this, and the first one I do an analysis on is paragraph 5. There's a reference in there to, I'll just read it. Establish the Cannabis Social Equity and Jobs Program and require the Department of Development to certify program applicants based on social and economic disadvantage. So this gets into socialist, a utopia thing, social equity, which is referring to equal outcomes as opposed to equal opportunities. I also have a Prager link in here to some analysis from somebody else on the social justice and social equity stuff, and some of this stuff I think you'll find interesting. So next paragraph, it defines social disadvantage to include membership in a racial or ethnic minority group, disability, status or gender, long-term residence in an area of high unemployment. So now you're building into, which would be, this is not a constitutional amendment, this would be a statute. So you're building into the Ohio Revised Code now institutional racism and sexism, which some people are for that. I'm certainly not. Preferential treatment is based on discrimination favoring socialist construct promoting racist and sexist policies. Let's go to paragraph 9. Prohibit certain local government entities from limiting specific research, levying tax or charge on adult use operations, their owner or their property not generally charged on other business. Prohibit certain local government entities from prohibiting or limiting adult use cannabis, home grow, or prohibiting or restricting an activity authorized by proposed law. Okay, so that's a key difference between the medical marijuana and now this recreational marijuana that's being proposed. Is with the medical marijuana, local governments have the right to set zoning standards and or keep them out of the community entirely. This removes all that. So with the recreational marijuana, it specifically says the local governments have no jurisdiction. So a pot shop could set up a business right next door to a school if they want. Or a church, school, daycare center. There's no restrictions, so they could be selling pot anywhere they want to. Let's go to the last paragraph. Provide for taxation of 10%, the sale of adult use. This has to do with how it's taxed, and that some of this goes to the Cannabis Social Equity and Jobs Fund, whatever the hell that is, and 25% to the Substance Abuse and Addiction Fund. So by their own hand, the pro-pot people are confessing to the addiction problem with marijuana and even want the tax on this to fund the addiction that they're creating. So, ask yourself this question: if issue 2 passes, will drug addiction be a greater or lesser problem in Ohio? So then the rest of the Becker Report, I have an endorsement in here from Michael Logue for trustee. I get into a section on COVID, kind of my usual Union Township update, which includes a couple of job openings, and just the new businesses that are in the township, and the things you can do at the Civic Center. I have my event calendar, Videos Central, which is just videos I find online that I think that y'all might find interesting. The Becker GOP YouTube channel, and the Becker Report archives. So sorry for the lengthiness of this video. Give me a call if you have any questions on that. Give my home phone number, my landline, 513-753-6440. And until next month, this is John Becker. Have a great day. Bye-bye.